I've been reading a report from the Times dated from February the 23rd, that's 3 days ago. I think this case raises a lot of questions about some of the sheer nonsense and stupidity, in my opinion, that is in our legal system. The report is by Charlotte Wace. I'm not going to read it all out because it's a bit lengthy and I just want to be aware of space on my computer. But this is the report. Um, Man who kissed waitress is cleared of sex assault. Now, on first glance, you might think this is just another he said, she said situation, but um, there's no doubt that the act did happen. So, this 48-year-old man, Neset Gunbat, he's Turkish and he is a restaurateur in Macclesfield, Cheshire. And supposedly there was a sort of informal work atmosphere there, but he approached a young colleague. She was only 19 years old. He apparently went up to her. I think she was in a vehicle at the time, or I'm not quite clear on that point. But regardless, he the waitress testified that she told the hearing at Stockport Magistrates Court that Gumbat, known as Nesh, had at first seemed like a nice colleague. Said one night after finishing work in 2019, Gumbat had approached her car window. Yeah, it was her car, and asked to kiss her. I said no, and that was when he put his arms around me, pressed against me, and asked for a proper kiss, and I again said no, she told the court. He kissed in between my lips and my cheek. His lips touched the corner of my mouth. He said, I won't tell anybody. And then I said, I would tell someone, and then he walked away. But bear in mind, this is a 48-year-old married man, and this is a 19-year-old colleague. She said that she was in shock, but carried on working at the restaurant. She said that on the second occasion, the chef followed me outside and he did actually kiss me that time. She said that his lips made contact with mine as she tried to push him away. It was horrible. I could not continue to work there, even though losing income as a university student is hard. It made me feel unclean and I didn't want to talk about it. I reported to the police in case it happened to somebody else. The waitress hasn't been named, by the way. Um, Neil Addison for the prosecution said that on the second occasion, defendant said he kissed her on the cheek, not on the lips, but had accepted that he may have caught some of her lip. Addison said the prosecution accepted it was very common in Turkey to kiss on the lips. That's a very problematic issue. This is a big part of his defense. Um, Gumbat, who had previously run a restaurant in Turkey, told the hearing that it was never my intention to be sexual and that he had kissed the student in the cheek, not the lips, in a friendly way. That's irrelevant if she clearly didn't want it. He said he was married and expecting his third child with his wife later this year. We're quite friendly in our culture. It was not done maliciously, he told the hearing. This is normal in our religion. All the staff are friendly and we would all joke around. Um, yeah, he added, in my culture this is acceptable and that it makes no difference whether it is male or female. Gumbat, who now lives in Coventry, could have been jailed if found guilty. He was acquitted on the grounds that the encounters were not sexual. Um, Neil Bretzel, chairman of the bench, said, we heard evidence from the complainant which was clear and she kept to her story, and we believe this evidence was credible. We heard your evidence and again it was clear, and again under pressure you maintained your position and there was no sexual intent. We are satisfied that contact was made between two people did take place, but we doubt it was sexual. If we find any reasonable doubt, then the benefit should be given to you. Um, I think this is utterly preposterous, and for this reason, his excuse that it was a cultural thing should immediately have been thrown out of the court. First of all, they should have checked if it was indeed a cultural thing. Now, I've posted this on a debate forum, and there are Turkish members in that debate forum saying this isn't a Turkish custom. Whilst it's true that a lot of Mediterranean countries and certainly Middle Eastern countries, both Arab and Turkey, may have a communication approach that is different from Northern and Western European countries like the UK. Um, the obvious thing here is she said no. That's just common sense. So, regardless of his excuse, he was deliberately pushing this when he knew she was uncomfortable. The reports isn't often about him offering an apology, but I think that what's really troubling here is the fact that his so called culture could have been used as an excuse. And I question why Neil Bretzel, the chairman of the bench, didn't throw that out. Now, the reasoning that he wasn't found guilty was there was lack of a sexual intent, supposedly. But even if that was the primary reason, I really think this culture thing can't be dismissed because this shows that you can have a situation where defendants use culture as an excuse and British courts accept it. I mean, what about the victim? What about the fact that she has lost income because he has put her in this position? What about the fact she must have felt very uncomfortable after this? You know, he's more than twice her age and he's behaving like a sleazeball. I mean, what the hell? Um, but what's I just think is pathetic is the cowardly way we pander to political correctness in this country over justice and doing the right thing. If he had been a British defendant, would he have got off the hook in the same way? Should he have gone to jail? If that's the law, I don't see why he should be treated differently from other defendants because he hasn't denied the act. They've accepted that conduct did take place. So this isn't a case that there was an allegation and he denies anything happened. He acknowledges it happened. Um, I think it's abhorrent. But our gutless legal system always puts so-called cultural sensitivities before what is right and wrong. His attitude stinks. He's in the UK, he should damn well respect British culture. And in British culture, certainly in recent times, okay, maybe it was more normal in the past, like up until the 70s or 80s, but certainly in recent years, decent people do not go up and kiss a colleague or a stranger without asking their permission. It's just not something that you do. Um, so it's BS. And I think this guy, he's got off the hook as far as I'm concerned. Is he going to do this to other young women against their will? But to use culture as an excuse, I think is something that courts need to throw out. And I'm so tired of situations where people come from other cultures and they think that they can disrespect British culture. I mean, they did make demands for their culture to be respected, but when in Rome, that very much applies here. And clearly, this pathetic court has ignored that fact. It's really absurd. But here's the thing: it's whether it's a custom in Turkey or not, it's not the main point. The main point is that the court believed it was. Um, and in believing that it was, they're using his culture as a mitigating factor. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. It's an insult to the victim, and you know, if you're a young woman, avoid Neset Gunbat. Don't work for this guy.